Can you guess what makes games different from any other form of media or art? What makes them unique? What essentially makes games games? If you are smarter than a mushroom, then you probably guessed that it's interactivity. Seriously though, those things frighten me. No, I'm not doing a Last of Us joke. I would even argue that Black Mirror's Cumberbatch, an interactive movie, is also a game. It became a game as soon as it let its viewers to choose a path. If Detroit is a game, then this is too. Alright, but how exactly we are supposed to give commands to a game? It's not like we speak the same language, right? Exactly. In a sense that, yes, we do need to speak the same language. Just like with other fellow humans or even animals, we need to know and use the same communication system to understand each other. It's time we talk about user interface. In a broad sense, user interface is a touch point between a human and a computer, space where communication happens. Your screen, your Black Mirror, is a user interface. And the main goal of any UI is to make this human-computer communication as easy and enjoyable as possible. Good UI is like good acting. It's something you don't notice and don't think about. It's a mean to something else after all. Especially if a game developer wants to highlight the narrative and immerse players into this fictional world. It's a delicate balance between keeping your screen uncluttered but providing all the necessary information. On top of that, a user interface has to comply with the existing style and mood of the game. You simply cannot put rusty metallic buttons into a game for preschoolers. Or you can, I don't know, maybe not the best example. Anyway, because of all the things mentioned above, the most praised way to incorporate UI into a game is diegetic. What this smart word means is that elements exist inside the fictional world, inside the game, and your character can see and interact with those elements as much as you can, or arguably even more. When I tried to find examples of this approach, I saw this game everywhere, Dead Space. And I don't mess with horrors. I'm such a chicken, so I haven't played it myself. But I took videos from people who are much braver than me, and I'm gonna show their names. So in Dead Space, there is no traditional health bar or ammo counter on the screen. Instead, players can read that information directly from the character's suit or weapon, which is pretty cool if you ask me. The game takes place 5 centuries in the future, so holograms are natural and even expected, and game developers use that to their advantage, as they should. In general, I noticed that many examples of diegetic UI come from horror games, which is logical for a genre that depends so heavily on building atmosphere and immersion. This is exactly why diegetic UI is so well loved. It does not compete for your attention and doesn't pull you out of the experience, quite the opposite. You are not reminded that this is just a game, which makes it easier to stay emotionally invested. Both the creator and the player want the player to care about the characters and their outcomes. And on top of that, diegetic UI just looks cool and can be incredibly clever. Ghost of Tsushima is famous for its guided wind. The game is absolutely stunning and she knows it. The developers put huge amount of effort into making Ghost of Tsushima dreamlike, and they are not covering it all with UI. They went for that cinematic, even melancholic feeling. You can even switch to Kurosawa mode, the Kurosawa. Literally, it's director of Japan. Well, at least for a non-Japanese person like me. I should probably stop glazing diegetic UI and talk a little about non-diegetic UI, because this is actually what most games rely on. Because it's kinda unavoidable. You can try to incorporate as much as you can into the game world, but some things are reserved just for the player, like controls or sound settings. Designing non-diegetic UI well is essential because it plays a critical role in shaping the overall gaming experience. You've probably already guessed that non-diegetic UI is not visible for your characters and does not exist within the story. It's like when you shoot a video and then slap something on top of it in post-production. It should still follow the visual style of the game, but in my opinion, non-diegetic UI is much more flexible. It doesn't have to obey the rules, the logic of the world, of the fictional world. So designers have much more freedom in how they present information. As an example, all of this in Baldur's Gate 3 is non-diegetic UI. Just look how much information it communicates. At the same time too, besides diegetic and non-diegetic UI, I've also came across spatial and meta UI being presented as categories of the same level, but I would honestly say they are more like subcategories of diegetic and non-diegetic UI. I don't know. How about I give you the definitions in my words and you decide for yourself. Okay, so spatial UI isn't perceived by characters, but it's positioned within the game world. What I mean by that is that it's often hovering above an object or a character, indicating interaction or providing information like an enemy's health and or name. Another example would be the trajectory of an object about to be thrown. Meta UI represents a character's current state, and it can be diegetic or non-diegetic. Traditionally, it has been used for things like low health, for example, red edges appearing around the screen. Another example is when a character's and the player's vision can become shaky and blurry to indicate intoxication. What immediately comes to my mind is Arthur Morgan under the influence of alcohol. And what makes it even more fun is that Arthur becomes extremely eloquent and he masters the art of socializing. Incredible realism. Red Dead Redemption 2 offers many other great examples of meta UI, but this time for a change, Arthur can become closer to an average player and neglect his hygiene. NPCs are gonna be very clear and hilarious with their comments, and if you go for too long without washing, Miss Grimshaw will confront you at a camp and force you to clean up, like a parent dealing with a stinky teenager. But at the end of the day, the choice of UI depends on what game developers want their players to know and understand. So each game deserves individual treatment and consideration when it comes to designing its UI. That said, there are some general principles that should always be taken into account. These apply to all UI design, not just gaming. They include, for example, hierarchy, accessibility, consistency, proximity, etc. But this is rather a broad topic on its own. User interface has a huge impact on how a game feels and looks. It can truly make or break the entire experience, so it should never be overlooked. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out my other videos and see you next time.